Previously on
Starting Over Podcast.
I get up from the ground, from the man from is keeping it down, and it's time to decide on the action that will force the time. And I feel that I can win. A man's I'm starting to spin, starting over once again.
Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Okay, a couple corrections. I know I have people yelling down my throat last podcast, like, look, I can't equip Q. I'm sorry. I messed that up. Brother was slacking. Okay, so please forgive me. So anyway, what we're going to go ahead and do is, as you can see today, we are going to be talking about Dark Phoenix Saga. My voice is a little sore. I had to yell at some kids, and I don't know if I'm getting a cold or whatever else, but between the two, I'm a little achy. So if I sound a little Luke, I am your father, and with a little bit of head congestion, that's why. All right, so I'm gonna put in some prefaces, prefaces in at the beginning. Now, some of the things that I'm gonna bring up are primarily good for utility if you do not have access to some more expensive options. Just putting that out there. Also, there are some things where I come back to, just like I was said. During Regenesis, for you to rethink swap tech. Okay, some of them are decent for swap tech. I also really, in the future podcast, I'm going to probably go into the power of individual options in non-theme. I know there's conversations right now about going first and theme teams. And I think those are good. And there's a lot of solid stuff going down. But I have some interesting thoughts that we could probably look at. In particular, like I said, looking at our options and determining some thought processes. So let's go ahead and get started. So first off, we have Wolverine. And this character is primarily useful to swap in so that you can get rid of characters that have stealth and shape change. That's it. It's a swap in only for the utility of when you make your first main attack. Now, I know some people will say, but what about my Diamond Patch? That is correct. Diamond Patch is cheaper and is very strong for what he does at 80 and 40 points. This is if you cannot afford Diamond Patch. Okay, Diamond Patch is like $80. Wolverine's like 25 cents. Which one are you going to do? Yes, Diamond Patch is double Wolverine. I will also say that he's also a chase versus Wolverine being in a common. Now, the one advantage that Wolverine does sort of have over Diamond Patch is that he has a couple more clicks of life too. But that's it. Okay. Oh, and a higher attack for blades. But other than that, I would just say, like, if you can't afford Diamond Patch, if that's something that's not on your radar immediately because you're playing X-Men Swap, don't stress. Wolverine is a solid option to replace Diamond Patch. All right, Friends of Humanity. Now, Friends of Humanity at 5 points, in my opinion, are ridiculously stupid because they go on a Sentinel theme team. Which is still good. And the fact that they are a primary catalyst for you to generate plus the theme also with your certain Sentinel generating characters that they can be there to generate so they can generate more Sentinels. Overall, their utility to me is nothing more than generate Sentinels. Now, if you were able to have some levels of mastermind or whatever, and you're looking for cheap fodder, I would tell you probably in spite of their cost, they're not the best. Just being 100. So, all right. Next up is Bolivar Trask. Bolivar Trask. Yeah, Bolivar Trask. Yeah. So again, here comes our first Sentinel generator, and this is a big thing. And I know there's like, well, what about the whatchamacallit? We got the new card Dark Logo, so we can get that new Sentinel goodness. Well, in spite of the new Sentinel goodness with the Legacy card, it doesn't work with this because you need to use the Dark Phoenix card, Dark Phoenix Saga card. So you're not going to be generating, the Sentinels from this set with the new Legacy card. You're just not doing that. So let's go ahead and look at this. Stoking the Mutant Hysteria, you pretty much are able to generate Friends of Humanity and Sentinels. That's the main reason why you have him. He has support as free, but only the target characters with either Sentinel or Robot keyword. Now, he can't use support otherwise, and this is awesome and suck at the same time, but in a Bastion Sentinel robot world without the robot keyword, he is sort of, again, lacking. It sort of puts him on the outskirts. But in terms of your Sentinel teams, yes, this dude is quite useful. Really, really useful. Now, he is in a close tie, almost, it's a close, maybe a second place to Senator Robert Kelly for that 5 points that you can save for the ability to generate more Sentinels. But unlike Robert Kelly, you don't have to worry about a betrayer mechanic. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to Scanner. Now, Scanner is important in our current setup, all right, because of we were able to utilize Mutant Messiah, and we're able to utilize Mutant Messiah with Prob, and then we're also able to drop in the Astral Scanner. And she can generate it up to 5 squares away. So that is a key element as well. The scanner, in my opinion, is pretty cool because it has mind control, phase, and teleport with a 9 attack. Now, is it, super ghetto broken? No, I just think it's quite useful. Let's go on and move on down the road to Danger Room Construct Magneto. This guy is still dumb. Like, the tricks that people can do with him that they refuse to do with him boggle the mind. 8 range, 2 targets, running shot, psychic blast, RCE, all works together. Put him in a vehicle. I don't see why that this is not more common. Just don't. And all the Danger Room Construct goodness. I know some folks will also be saying, but, Dark Logos robots have gotten better, and, he's on a lot of robot teams and blah, 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 but he also sort of got nerfed because of the knockback and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, that is true. But, realistically, as a figure in this game, he is still probably, I would look at the set, and I would say he's in the top 3 to 4 characters that top this set. But not only that, I would say top the meta still. I think this is a no-brainer, is Magneto, Danger Room Construct Magneto. Let's go on to Cable. All right, Cable is important for our futuristic hologram, and we're able to swap out a 75-point Cable and get 2 with the X-Men swap. We're able to keep 2 of the Cable clones in on the field, and paying 25 points to keep two 25 point, two 25 point cables that have, a free TK is worth it, in my opinion. That's a lot of early, mobility or a free equip. So, like, you can't really overlook that. You don't have to worry about the liability of the real cable getting popped and then you lose your two others. He's gone off the map. It does sort of hurt you in your swap because you are looking at a character that's 75 points or less for your swap. And you can't swap out the fake cables for 0 point X-Men characters because they don't exist. But what you can do is, like I said before, have to 25 point cables roaming the field. So I think for your utility and what you're all getting out of that, regardless of everything else that cable does, I think he benefits greatly from the swap out meta. Look at it however you want to. I still think, like, because of Professor X from Rise and Fall, I think his value goes up in probably like maybe the top 15 figures. All right, next up is Senator Robert Kelly. And Senator Robert Kelly is just great because we generate Sentinels with him. Like, that is the number one thing. We generate Sentinels with him. He has the perplex, but only target opposing characters. That is a little bit unfortunate because Sentinels really could use some loving to perplex of their defense or their attacks in a multitude of different ways. But that's okay. But overall, like, he is, like I said, you're saving 5 points. He is a slightly less as useful as Bolivar Trask, but he is cheaper and points matter. And when points matter, yeah, like this guy, you're going to go Senator Robert Kelly. You just are. All right, let's go to Amelia Vaught, or Voight. Is it Voight or Vaught? I think it's Vaught. So let's break it down. Brotherhood of Mutants. Keyword. You got Mutant Messiah. You have the Alkalites. You have the keyword. You have Mutant Messiah trait. You have Slide in Under the Door. I was about to say it's like sliding them DMs. Sliding them DMs. Phasing Teleport. Passenger 4, but only to carry characters that share keyword with her, which is sort of useful because, again, Brotherhood is getting a little bit better, and you're also, like I said, like in my previous comparisons, looking at taxis, Passenger 4 is pretty good. She is competing with Pixie, and I do believe with a swap in, swap out mechanic that she has the potential to do that well. In a golden age situation where you have the Professor X Magneto duo, she's carrying X-Men, but at that same time, if you had that capability to bring in that figure, there are several other delivery systems that might be slightly bit better. Transmute Out of Danger, super senses once per turn when Amelia Voight or an adjacent, they merged the two words on realms, an adjacent friendly character would take 3 or more damage. You may give that character 2 action tokens to take 1 unavoidable damage instead. If you do, after resolutions, you may place that character in a square adjacent to her current square. So that is really useful if you were about to get Kamehameha in the face. So just saying, like, so that still has a lot of uses in terms of saving characters, because there's a lot of mechanics that can just take tokens off. So it is once per turn, but it is what it is. Next up is Fabian Cortez. Fabian Cortez, to me, is a subtle figure that can be utilized, but most people will never utilize him to the maximum. Unfortunately, I don't think he really gets to come in with the swap. Hold on, wait. Let's check the Magneto. The brother needs to make sure he doesn't lead you all astray here. Let's go to Rise and Fall, Magneto. No, he can. Alkalites. My bad. Alkalites. I'm so used to Brotherhood, just thinking Brotherhood and Hellfire Club. But it also works for Alkalites, too. So, yeah, you can bring in. Sorry, we had a mosquito that wanted to fly to its death, uh, clearly. But, yes, you could bring in Fabian Cortez in your swap. And here's a couple of reasons why I'm looking at Fabian Cortez. Again, you have that Mutant Messiah, which you're really not using too much on him, but it does give you something to sort of fall back on and make sure that, maybe your diamond patches or your Cyclops last a little bit while longer. You know, that could be something that you're thinking about. Uh, Maybe not your Cyclops, but no, your Cyclops, yeah. Power Overload. Power, choose an adjacent character, modify the chosen character's combat values by +1 until your next turn. At the end of your turn, roll d6, 3 through 6, deal the chosen character 1 avoidable damage, and heal Fabian Cortez 1 click. Now, some of you might say, that is suck. All right. But hear me out. He also has enhancement in leadership. You have a character that you are pumping up. And let's just say you have a character sort of like a Wolverine or like the Cyclops, I think, from Regenesis, where I think if your allies hit, you get to heal one. The fact that you could take this damage at the end of your turn, it's not to me so much a big deal when you are looking at X-Men and you're looking at Brotherhood. There are multiple mechanics that are there to heal yourself up. You also can combine this character with characters like Wolverine. I know you don't necessarily get a benefit from the range option, where he's just like, I heal. I just heal a turn. I took one at the end of the turn. I'm going to heal one at the beginning of the turn. Now, I know some people would say, in terms of timing, is it the best optimal timing that the damage happens at the end of the turn and you're going to heal at the beginning of your next turn, and there's damage in between there, and you could be knocked off of such a defense power and blah blah blah. That's up to you as the player to decide. I'm not going to suppose that you're an idiot. Okay? If it's not optimal to do the play, then don't do the play. But if it is optimal to do the play, then do the play. The other thing as well to consider is that you have characters that may need to get to click 2, that may need to activate. And in the dark world of the current state, most people have completely overlooked Fabian. And so you have a, 2/3 chance of dealing unavoidable damage to your character so you can get them activated, so you don't have to go through any other process. That is big. That is big. Definitely if you're looking at some of the older figures that don't have self-activation built in anymore, okay? So Fabian Cortez is huge. He has the ability to bump up your team. He has some still energy built into him. I'm not too hype about that because he's primarily going to be like a soft, squishy, rangy, manipulative guy, like the character. Exodus, I hate saying it like this. Exodus was a better Alkalite, like power amplifier guy than Fabian. He just was, like, being 100. All right, so there is that. So, like I said, Fabian Cortez, there's a lot to think about with him. There's a lot of uses on non-theme in particular as well. All right, so let's go ahead to Sabretooth. And this is, of course, the construct. And, like, it's sort of similar logic. It's like these stats are ridiculous. And you're getting charged... 12 attack, 3 damage for 45 points. Yes, you're only doing one, and I really feel like he doesn't work so much in a in a vehicle, because I don't really think there's a current vehicle out there that's really synergizes with him real well. But as a tie-up piece, as a figure for downfield aggression, I think that he's dumb. he still fits in the current game state. And I don't think there's any question about it. And the only reason I brought it up because I know people said like you didn't talk about Sabretooth. I'm like I sort of feel like I shouldn't have to, but hey. All right. Next up is Legion, Fractured Savant, and there's a couple of different points that I have with him, and I'm going to also present where people will say, "Oh, I have concerns about him." Okay. First major point. You're going to pick a power, and your opponent's going to be like, "Nah, you can't get that, homie." You're going, and you're just going to have to accept that. You're just going to have to accept that. But the thing that I feel is most useful with him is getting equipment that he can use. Getting equipment that he can use that is going to grant him the powers that he needs. And particularly, I think it's the All Black. I think the All Black gives you shape change. Either that or symbiote. Getting the shape change, getting exospecs, stuff like that. Those sort of mechanics actually help him out. Let me see. Yeah, and so when we start looking at his ability to just sort of like pick powers with the +1, there's a lot of, in my opinion, cool stuff. Again, your opponent is going to pick the one that's most beneficial to them. There's nothing that you can do about that. I'm trying to maintain control. Free, choose 2 standard powers. Legion, Fracture Savant can use the chosen powers until your next turn. So it's dealing with that +1 turn. You're balanced with the -1 turn. You get to the -4 turn, everything just sort of pops off. And I think in the -4 turn is where I think we are going to see a lot of, oh wow, I really felt like I wasted my time. And that's what I realistically think will happen. Now, I know the main concern that I have for his point value is that he needs to probably be one more click, like longer, for the current, game state. But the fact that he's not, okay, I could tolerate that. Does he have his uses? He has his uses for X-Men swap. And you're going to be like, I mean, come on, Dark Logos. I mean, like, is this going to be your fallback on everything? No. There are some things that can easily stand on themselves, but it is not a bad option for X-Men swap because I'll be honest with you, if you tell your opponent on a turn where he's double token, like, look, I'm going to pick Empower and Enhancement, which one are you going to block from me? Knowing that you're going to be pumping up damage of, your team, they have to think twice. So, also I think there is a couple of characters that could call Revival him. So there's that as well. Is he the most dominant title character? No. And I think to a degree for a while, WizKids has sort of lost their way for title characters. Like they don't know what to do with them. They're trying not to make them overpowered. But at the same time, they're sort of trying to make them good but they're making them too niche. Okay, so then we get to freaking Legion, and here comes all the colors of the rainbow and the fun to be had here. Okay, so let's go through a couple of things. We are Legion. At the beginning of your turn, roll a d6. Then you may add +1 to or subtract 1 from the result. Then turn Legion's dial to that click number. He does not return to his initial click. You can't access click 0 any other way. This is just dumb. And I really wish that, we'll make sure Professor X can't summon in New Mutants either. Okay, because, again, That would have been awesome. Because, brother sometimes is wrong and lacking on his own show. Okay, yeah, so no. All right. He can't. All right, so being able to call in this guy, that would have been great. Because the amount of shenanigans that you could do with him is just ridiculous. Uh, and so, like, standing alone, it's like, all right, cool. Uh, Healing him up, making sure that he is, I would argue, way more aggressive into your opponent's face than a lot of people may want to admit. Uh, then going to that like next step of like, all right, I'm here. We're going to, back up, all the way to the top, like potentially getting back to the top if you fail to KO it in that one turn. I think there's something to be said with that if you're rolling high. The living voodoo doll and the chain, both of those things are ridiculous. But I have to be honest, if you get to a living voodoo doll, you're probably dead. You are more than likely dead. But yeah, I think there's a lot of fun stuff here. I mean, Power Gym would be fun with him. Yeah, Power Gym would just be fun and dumb with him. But yeah, that's it for Legion. Mr. Sinister, and again, I'm going with the construct. Again, straightforward. It's hard to kill. It's super. It has a high level of utility. Um, it's still a staple. It's still a staple. It's worth having, worth buying. So yeah. All right, let's move on. There's Harry Leland, and in the current format with a lot of heavy movement and high mobility and rush down, I just gotta say Harry Leland is a lot more stronger than people think. And with the Hellfire Club being part of the swap, if he is not optimal, taking him out, and then when you don't need him and putting him in when you need him, um, it's almost like, why don't you have one at that stage? He's just too good. Then after Harry Leland, I'm going to go into Jean Grey. I will make a point. I am going to skip over White Queen, and normally I would be like, yo, White Queen is the great, and you can swap her in and swap her out and blah, 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 blah. Which is true. And she's gotten a lot better. The problem that comes in is Bishop, and more people would rather play Bishop Prime than White Queen. Even though White Queen covers more of the cost efficiency of Bishop Prime, people are just going to be like, I'd rather just play Bishop Prime. Now, I will say this, if you are looking for some level of range protection, you already have a Prime that you want to play, and you are thinking about X-Men swap or Brotherhood swap. No, it's Hellfire Brotherhood Acolytes. If you're looking at that swap, really, really, really look at White Queen or Emma Frost's Chase. Like, really look at that, because I think there's a lot of stuff that can be considered that can be disruptive. And in spite of there being a lot more melee game in heroclix right now, there is still some heavy melee. There's still some heavy range game. Okay, so don't sleep on that. All right, well, let's go back. All right, next up is Jean Grey. Jean Grey, in the current format, has too many things that make her, in my opinion, a problem. That she creates too many issues. The first is everybody knows about the Jean Grey bomb, grenade, death nail that can happen. Another thing is just the fact that she could be mind controlled, get flung out there, pop off, take a shot, and pop off again. Like nothing's changed with that. Her ability to just be like, hey, I can mind control multiple characters that are lower points than me is another, like, what the heck? Like, no one uses it. So, yeah, It says outwit, but only to choose a black power or a special power. Mind control. When Jean Grey uses that range, modify attack by +1, and she may instead target any number of characters of lower point value. This is the prototype to Batman. And this is the honest truth about it. Most people do not use her like that. Most people use her as a cannon. They don't try to have her mind control, even though it can get maybe a quarter of the team or half the team. Most people don't use her to mind control, which is really sad because there's a lot of utility there. So anyway, Jean Grey, she is definitely up there still. Jason Wingard, I don't like there's a dissertation I can write on Jason Wingard and Pogs and shenanigans and stuff. The key thing that I will say with Jason Wingard is Jason Wingard works with a multitude of on theme, off theme, and pro Pog and not Pog or light Pog dependent teams. He's super flexible, and I'll sort of break it down. On theme, currently with the Brotherhood and the Hellfire Club swaps, he's hella useful, and there's a lot of characters that he can swap into or and get placed on the field real conveniently. Not only that, being able to be off theme where you're able to carry him and be hyper aggressive and then just be like, boom, I'm dropping this gorilla Pog on you, sucks to suck. Congratulations. Every new broken Pog character that exists, that's, under those 150 points, I think. Yeah, it's like under 150 points. Yeah, every broken Pog that exists, it's Jace is going to be popping them out. Okay. And I mean, we've already seen how silly it can be with him, with Commissioner. So, that right there. And when we're looking at, just him being a range character, him being a Pog generator character, even to a degree, him being a little bit able to survive in melee, him being able to have multiple ways of getting tokens off himself, him being a board clearer, him being a board rearranger. Like I said, there's a dissertation that can be written on Jason Wingard. It's like, hello, my name is Edward Shelton, and I have a problem with, Jason Wingard. You need a 12-step program to get off of him. All right, so that wraps up the standard figures. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the colossal figures. So with the colossal figures, I'm going to have some addendums real quick. A majority of what I'm going to say is going to feel like, yeah, Captain Obvious. But please sort of, hear me out, that these colossals are really good overall. They were really good in new rules and in the current state of the game. They're still really good. And I think that is great for the game. So I would also like to point out the other fact about colossal stamina being 3 through 6. And colossal stamina coming in and fundamentally changing the tempo of a majority of these figures, I think there has to be some degree of revisiting of, is this really as bad anymore? Okay, so my first one is Sentinel, and having played Sentinels, they got upgraded with the stamina change, the colossal stamina change. The options that you can generate, we all know about that. Oh, hey, we're going to have master mode, blah, 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 silliness. We all know about that, okay? We even know about the legacy card that I brought up before with the Sentinels. Like, that part doesn't matter as much. If you don't have access to a legacy card, these things are still playable. I don't think someone should sleep on them because they don't have 10 legacy cards with Sentinels. But with that being said, in the current environment, there are some power combinations that don't hit as hard as they used to, such as charge super strength because all objects do 1 damage. Okay, you can't be throwing down that 5 damage, all right, anymore, all right? The plasticity doesn't really zone anymore as it used to. You can sort of like lock folks down from a farther away, but that does suck. The incapacitate is still pretty good, so I'm not gonna, hate on that. But you're still combining that with stealth, and yeah, that part is yeah. So the Force Blast RCE, yeah, not the damage combo it used to be. I'll just say that. Sidestep close combat expert is a little bit better. So like those factors, yeah, like there is some of the sting that's gotten taken out of it, but at the same time, it's still a useful character at 25 points. All right, next up is Nimrod. Now, Nimrod doesn't have his ability to push anymore, but having the ability to get those tokens off of him at 175 is huge. And that was his major downfall, was him being in a position where he's double token. And with the potential of getting those tokens off more consistently, like Nimrod is a lot stronger than he was previously. Is he 175 going to rule the world strong? No. Is he in a certain format able to come in and really mess with multiple different types of teams? Yes. Okay. Yes, he can. All right. Next up on our list is Proteus. And this is 004 Proteus. And so really both Proteuses are good, primarily Colossal Retaliation, but again, 20-point Proteus gives us Barrier, Shape Change, Smoke Cloud. That's a lot. That's just right there for 20 points. Like, I really don't have to say anything else. Oh, I have Shape Change and I have Barrier and Smoke Cloud. And once per turn, Proteus can use Barrier as free or Smoke Cloud as free, but only to generate 2 markers. Other characters within 3 squares can't use improved abilities. Oh, okay. So I can Colossal Retaliate and drop that on you. Oh, just be glad Tri-Silver retired, and a lot of people didn't talk about that combo. That's it. So, still in the modern format, this Proteus is a stop sign, what Sinestro does, except, it's not as mobile. And I think the not paying attention to that is a downfall for a lot of people. And so yeah, like your brute monster teams, they can be a lot more defensive than I think a lot of designs build them to be with multiple Proteuses. And I think the whole build the wall mindset that I've been talking about, I know everybody's like, well, you can play the Molecule Man. Well, the new hotness is X-Men. I'm just going to be 100. And they're going to be like, oh, Gene Bomb you. Okay. Does everybody have a Gene Bomb? Now, you can make an argument and be like, most of the top tier players are going to Gene Bomb. Okay, cool. If most of the top tier players are going to Gene Bomb and you're running monsters, do you have a punishment for a Gene Bomb? Okay. Like, are you reading your opponent's sideboard plus reading what you think they would do to respond to your team? And then you can also start thinking about, okay, if the Gene Bomb doesn't go off or it's unsuccessful or there's other complications that go on, can you introduce those factors into your team and then force another confrontation that's a little bit more favorable for you? So, like, those are thoughts that you have to have. Those are just thoughts that you have to have. It's a methodology. Okay. Let's go on to, since we're done with that one, we're going to go to Exodus. Exodus, he has a lot of zoning and with a lot of rush down. I think he really goes really well on Brotherhood Swap, but he is a zone option that is useful to take out some of these aggressive options. He just is. He's able to provide an attack debuff and then just say, nope, you stop at the outside of my force field. You don't even get to go into the force field. So there are a lot of things that I think there's could be overlooked with Exodus. Now the Pulse Wave, yeah, that's booty now. Like, I'm sorry, it just is. The TK is also is booty. Like, it is. The Precision Strike is a little bit better, and the Energy Explosion is a little bit better. His offensive capabilities, I have to admit, in new rules, it's not as good. It's just not as good. But it is decent. He does have his leadership is still, in my opinion, one of the better leaderships, and there's stuff that you can do with that as well. So I gotta say, like, Exodus is still a very good piece, even more so because in the situations where he just does not work, you don't have to worry about him. You swap him to the sideboard. All right, next up, I have on my list is Onslaught. And it's Onslaught at 100. And I know, again, the TK change did hurt Onslaught and took out some of his offensive capabilities. But I think when you start looking at armor and monster, and particularly more so with armor, you can just make him a better distribution hub. Like, he has the ability to get into position, TK characters around, or just flat mind control them. And with a melee 3 targets, he could just be like, I'm going to punch this area and you all are mind controlled. I'm targeting 3 characters when I punch. That is happening. I'm crushing that ground and emitting psychic power. And I think that's something as well to consider. And maybe even when we start talking about zoning, is, maybe even combining him with Exodus or combining him with Harry Leland and coming in onto Onslaught a lot more of a difficult prospect. I'm not saying an impossible prospect, but if you have to dismantle Harry Leland plus dismantle Exodus before you can get to Onslaught, that's a lot of damage. Now, again, that leaves you like 50 points left. Hold up. Yeah, 50 points left because Exodus is 75. But I do think it's a starting point philosophically. Now, you could say, like, well, look, I could do barriers, I could do other stuff than Exodus. That's fine. I'm just sort of throwing out the ideas. Okay, but I still think with X-Men team ability being what it is, with Brotherhood of Mutants team ability having the ability to get some tokens off, then even more so getting more tokens off because of great size, like, you are looking at a situation in which this character could potentially be a constant cannon. Now, I would also say, because his great weakness is stealth, him in Diamond Patch at 80, I did say 80, him in Diamond Patch at 80, or him and Wolverine from the set are probably good ideas. And I would really, really put a push in on that. And the reason I wouldn't be like, oh man, play Batman Prime, is the Onslaught is a forward-placing character, and Batman Prime would have his line of fire obstructed by Onslaught, and then doubling and tripling, quadrupling down on mind control. I know, even though I did recommend Diamond Patch, I do know, I am aware of that. Is not necessarily the best idea. Having a 80-point Diamond Patch, which I think he is able to reduce penetrating damage. I think he's able to reduce penetrating damage. And having him be your anti-stealth, I just gotta say, like, that just stands up. Yeah, because when Diamond Patch hits a single opposing character with a close attack, after resolutions, he can use mind control as free, but only target the hit character. And then, yeah, he does reduce penetrating damage. And he also heals one click at the beginning of the turn. Yeah, so I was on point. All right, so another cool thing too with Diamond Patch as well is he has freaking X-Men key. He has X-Men team ability and Brotherhood team ability. So he has really good synergy with Onslaught in terms of being useful. And then there's another thing like, woe is me. My Diamond Patch is over here. Whatever shall I do? Well, I can free TK him, or I can just have him next to me, move, and then free mind control. Oh, your stealth is gone, and so is your shape change. What shall you do? So again, I really do think there is a case for Onslaught, and yeah, I think there's a case for Onslaught. So let's keep on going in terms of utility. I got I have this one. I like to come back to Michael Love, where he had a meme when Juggernaut came, to Team Juggernaut about the Juggernaut 2x2. Is this a team? Which is the 300-point Juggernaut. While I will enjoy a good meme, like an old man, way too late and barely understanding it. I also do understand in the current situation that Juggernaut can be on a team and be quite scary, and actually is quite useful in a multitude of situations that are causing problems in the game right now. So let's sort of go into why a 100-point Juggernaut is probably really, really stupid. 200-point Juggernaut, I can see being played. It's just too little else that you have to keep him going. But there are some mechanics that could. In particular, like the Mutant Messiah characters could be useful because you could send the damage to Mutant Messiah characters, and then as you punch them on your way in, you can punch characters on your way in. You'd be like, all right, I'm going to carry my Mutant Messiah person back to the medic as I dip out, Juggernaut out, and you're playing like a run game or something. Like it's potential. So let's go into why Juggernaut at 100 is probably more scary than he's ever been before. Let's first start off with Great Size and taking the token off. Then we are going to combine that with my mutant brothers and sisters. Is once per turn, when an effect other than clearing, because we're not clearing when we're using Great Size, removes an action token from Juggernaut after resolutions, heal him one click. Okay, so boom. So we are having Great Size trigger. There we go. We also have the potential, if we roll 10 or higher with our attack, we can also have the potential to clear a token. So then heal again. We also have Mass Destruction, Super Strength. When Juggernaut is given a move action, after resolution, destroy all adjacent pieces of blocking terrain. Then he can use Quake at no cost. That's pretty good, getting that Quake in. Definitely if he gets that single target Quake, that's really great. Citywide Rampage. If Juggernaut destroyed 3 or more pieces of blocking terrain during one of his actions, there we go. After resolutions, remove an action token from him. There is a potential for Juggernaut in one turn to heal up 3 clicks. That wasn't present before. And I'm going to be honest, it's really easy in some cases for him to do too. Now, I know some of you will also say, but also Dark Logos. There is the dumbness, which is Molecule Man, in which he can make a bazillion different types of barriers for free because he's freaking Molecule Man. And so every turn that he can move, he can Kool-Aid Man through these barriers. Oh yes, and oh yeah. So if we're talking about it, if you're going to take out a Juggernaut, you're going to need to blow through him in one turn. If you fail to do so, he can still strike you pretty hard or have the mechanics to run away and do something else. And that's not also ignoring the other elements that you can add on your team. And if you want to use Juggernaut as a 300-point shock trooper just to mess up your opponent and just say, if you ignore him, he is either going to come in and gradually grind down your support or grind down your main attacker through the quakes, or he's just going to constantly keep going and heal back up when he runs away. You're going to have to make a choice. You're either going to go after my force over here full of piddly dudes that are blasting you for 3 and 4, maybe even 5, or are you going to take down Juggernaut, who is constantly disrupting? Okay, so those are things that we can think about. Those are concepts that we can start employing. These are the beginning of ideas. These are not fully fleshed out teams that I'm sort of giving out here. But you can start to see why Juggernaut is way better than a lot of people are thinking. Okay. Next up on the list is Sasquatch. And I know you folks will be like, what? Sasquatch? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I overlooked this initially when I was looking at Sasquatch. Now there's a couple of elements that come in together that form a bigger picture. So the first is that Sasquatch has outwit. Second is that it's animal keyword. But the leaping smash has a lot more usefulness than I thought. So you have access to charge, but that part doesn't matter. It's the power placed within 5 squares in line of fire. Okay? That part is what's huge. You don't have to worry about plasticity. And there's starting to be more and more issues with that. And then also, not having to worry about breakaway with characters that have started to mess with breakaway is a lot better than I thought. And then he can use Quake at no cost, which is just you placing the best you can. Also, you could just be like, bloop, I'm over here. Now I'm going to Quake more people than I did before. It also will get you in a further distance than you can charge at 50 points. That's it. So, is this the greatest thing? No. Is this good? Yes. It's like tier 2. Does it have uses? Yes. Okay. Because in particular, you can just outwit and then be like, I need to outwit over here and then boop. Or I need to Quake, do this, then outwit over here at a specific angle. As long as you can get line of fire to that one square that you need to be in, then you just boop over there. So that's something that now more than previously, it has some uses. All right, so let's talk about Cyclops Sentinel, which is my boy. 50 points, probably one of the best figures in the game. Definitely top 25 figures in the game right now, Cyclops Sentinel. Robots teams use them. All the gyros want to be them, and all the pistons want to love them. Like that's what it is. So Cyclops Sentinel, the first main advantage is that he has X-Men keyword. So there are a multitude of different X-Men lineups, stuff that you can do. The next thing is that he has, and you can swap him in and out on your X-Men swap teams and whatever, but 9 times out of 10, he is main force. Like, unless someone has something like, oh, look, I prop robots wherever robots are, then you're like, oh, yeah, he's out. Like, I don't like, I'm immune to penetrating damage. Yeah, he's out. Like, I'm going to rush down your team in 2 seconds. Yeah, like, he's probably gone. But he's really useful. The next thing that he has that I think is just the boss is that he has that 8 range with the leadership. The 8 range just allows him to reach out and touch somebody's hand and electrify him with, laser death. I know that's not how it works, but that's how I feel. So then the other element, you have is if you don't do enough damage, you get the Pog, and the Pog is just 5 levels of stupid. But I will say this: there is no one that has been experienced enough to deal with him that will only do 3 damage to a 50-point Cyclops Sentinel. Cyclops Sentinel works great on robot teams. He is a freaking workhorse on Sentinel teams. There is no lie. He is a workhorse on Sentinel teams. Like, all 3 of his keywords just benefit from having him. So yeah, I don't know. Like, it is a character that if anyone has been sleeping on, I'm just like, yo, you might as well go back into that coma. You might as well go back into that coma. All right. Speaking of Sentinels, we're going to next talk about my boy Bastion. Bastion at 100 is the only thing you need to play. Don't ever look at his higher point values. And truth be told, the only thing that he's doing is running shot mind controlling 2 targets, or he is 2 target, and he actually benefits the most from the mind control changes, because from the melee changes, because in the past, like I said, you're using Cyclops Sentinels as like the majority of your workhorse, and so having to sort of do a ranged attack to get 2 of them with them having ESD is a little bit frustrating. Yes, there is, I think it's like, what is that? That one bot thing that you got from Fantastic, the Cosmic Clash. There's like a repair bot thing that only works on like Lotvarian Doom bots and robots. So anyway, but and you could defend down. It gives you defending, perplex, and support. That thing is useful, and it sort of helped you when you were mind controlling with Bastion, because he only does have 11 attack, and if you're trying to run a shot, ESD 11 on a 20 is not that great. But with the current way that it works with the melee attacks, trying to mind control 2 Cyclops Sentinels is far more easier than it was previously, because you just be like, boom, I'm touching my boys on their shoulders, and I'm giving them a nice buffering, and then I'm patting them on their back and sending them out. Okay, so that is something for us to think about in terms of viability. Okay, is that the melee change for mind control, the melee change and the target change for and how it applies to mind control has made Bastion way stronger. The next thing with Bastion is like, just more Sentinels. Like I said, unfortunately, when we're generating Sentinels, we can't use legacy card Sentinels and all this other stuff. We just can't. That's just how it is, and it will never change. But he also still is succeeding on leadership on a 4 through 6, which I forget a ton of times. Won't lie. If there's an opposing character with X-Men or Brotherhood of Mutants on the keyword on the map, which happens a lot. It happens a lot now, definitely for the next few months. He's going to be just baller. Now, once he gets his mid-dial, the whole barrier and other stuff, yeah, that's not... You need to get him healed up. You need to get that Doom bot or whatever the bot is and to medic him up. Okay, he needs to get buffered out. He needs to get some new sheet metal put on him and get him back to those top clicks. You cannot afford for him to be in those middle clicks, because as soon as he gets to those middle clicks, your opponent's going to smell oil in the water and come for you. So you got to do your best to stay at the top. Now, I know some folks will say, but it makes him like a punk commander and he's just in the back and blah, 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 blah. Early game, that's what he does. Late game, he can start throwing robot hands. But I say this as a person who has played a lot, a lot of Bastion. I've played a lot of Bastion. I've played a lot of Sentinel. They are one of my funnest, favorite teams next to Wakanda, which says something, you know. But I gotta be honest, you do not ever want him in his mid dial. There's too many problems that happens when he's in his mid dial. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it at that. All right. Next up is the other Proteus, and I'll just sort of keep it simple with the other Proteus. It has its uses just like the first Proteus. I just think a lot of folks are just going to completely overlook him because he's not on and popping right now, and he's not new. Okay, so I'll just leave it at that. All right, Magneto. Okay, yeah. Next up is Magneto, and retail Magneto is good. 100 point Magneto is a no. Just you're only playing retail Magneto, and nothing's changed with him. He's just still good. That's it. Nothing has really changed. He's just still good. Maneuvering stuff around, getting stuff into place. You're not really using. You can't use him on the swap. I don't think so. If you did, you would have to actually swap with the Magneto. So yeah, that's not a good go. So yeah, but yeah, it's a okay. It's still good in the game. It's still a good figure in the game. All right, so next up is Colossus, and Colossus is a prime. Now we're going to make some really particular comments about Colossus. So the first is that it by being great size, the fact that it can move through blocking terrain, destroy all blocking terrain. This character can move through squares adjacent to or occupied by opposing characters without stopping, and automatically breaks away, even if adjacent to a character that can use plasticity. It pretty much just goes wherever it wants. I do not think there is a character that puts a limitation on him without taking away his ability to have improved movement. Okay, so when we're looking at having that chisel, we're looking at having that, that figure that's sort of busting things down for cheap. Prime Colossus is it. He is a decent retaliator. I do say decent retaliator. You have flying debris when Colossus uses charge after resolution to deal 1 penetrating damage to each opposing character that's adjacent to one or more debris marker he created this turn. So, for some people that are wondering where the new Tri-Sentinel is, maybe not in multiplicity, but in terms of function, here you go. Now, I know some folks will also say, but Dark Logos, he doesn't just retile and blow down a bunch of stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. Dark Logos, he doesn't have Pulse Wave and ignores all this stuff. Yeah, I get it. Dark Logos, he takes up my prime slot. For the Tri-Sentinels didn't. I understand that. I understand that invisible audience, man, that I talk to. That's not myself, but is myself. Yeah, I get all that. But when we're looking at options that we need at that period of time, swapping him in could be good. So also we look at his retaliation, and we go all the way down there. If that character, when he's going on that character, if that character is within the same row or column as Colossus, now this is one restriction I do not like. Plays Colossus adjacent to the character and make a close combat attack targeting all characters in the rows or columns between where Colossus began this action and his current square. Regardless of adjacency, hit characters dealt 2 penetrating damage instead of normal damage. This can either do a lot of little damage or do absolutely nothing. So yeah. All right. Let's keep going. Next up is Wendigo. Yeah, there's just too many things that are done. The fact they can heal past his initial click, you can get 3 or 4 of them, and they can completely overwhelm a team. The fact that they can just get free movements baked in. There's more than enough monster mechanics and mystical and animal mechanics to just make them good. So yeah, get as many as you want. There's no change. Are they still useful? Yes. Are they as dominating as they were before? Not so much. But I don't think with there not being so much of a use of ancient hold, and I think that map will retire soon. I can't think off of the top of my head. I'm not saying there isn't, but just off the top of my head, I can't think of a map as oppressive as Ancient Hold that makes Wendigo so good defensively. I just can't. But yeah, like there is some factors there of like playing them on theme is really good. Playing them off a theme is still viable. It's just the good stuff wins philosophy. So yeah. All right. Let's go to the Queen. Let's talk about the Queen herself, Dark Phoenix. In the current format, there are, with the rules changes, there are more things that have made her dumb that cannot be counted in terms of utility. So the first and foremost is like, congratulations, colossal, great size. I'm rolling to take tokens off. Plus power cosmic, I'm rolling to take tokens off. Plus I have triple target and I can triple melee attack, where in the past it may not have been optimal for me to do so. And the ability to potentially gorge yourself on the blood of your enemies with one Dark Phoenix and get to 300 points. That is highly possible. And I feel any other character like this in the future, like the Wendigos, needs to have a restriction that's just like, the max you can heal up is 3 above the starting line or 4 above the starting line. Everything else, you're just not healing. That makes them strong. It doesn't make them like, oh, yeah, I have to sacrifice half my army to make sure that Dark Phoenix doesn't pop, because if she does, woe is me and woe unto my family. I looked and had the dream, and I had spoken to the angel and unfurled the great scroll and said, whoa. That's the thing about Dark Phoenix that becomes so annoying, is Dark Phoenix by herself can just win games. And a 25-point character, or at least a 25-point dial cost, should not give you that level of capability. Sorry, not 25, 30. My bad, 30. I'm looking at something else. 30 points shouldn't give you that. So in terms of like, multiple people have said it, she is the strongest figure in the game right now. She is in terms of overall utility. Not saying that she can't die or she can't be taken down or any other stuff like that. It's just she is, in terms of for her kit, She is the strongest character in the game, and she still is. All right, next up is Mojo. And I know a lot of folks be like, whoa, I wasn't expecting Mojo. And I'm like, yeah, Mojo actually got a little bit better. Definitely the fact that he can get his tempo like ramped up with great size, and then he has a decent range. His ability to sidestep or sort of move 2 squares when his opponent's sidestep is also useful, and Mojo can't be targeted by opposing characters 5 or more squares away. That together in the current environment gives him a lot more oomph that I think people may have thought about. The more action ratings are dropping ability is also really good, where you remove 2 board tokens to either place Mojo anywhere on the map or to make an attack. And the factor now of getting those free attacks and messing with your opponent with those free attacks, I think that is really good. And in a lot of cases, definitely if you start combining him with, what was it? Green Lantern with the 19 defend and ESD, he becomes a lot more difficult to deal with. He is not insurmountable, though. Like, I want to make that clear. He's not insurmountable. He is challenging. So, yeah. Lastly is Iceman. And I'll just say, in spite of the nerfs, for 15 points, for what he does, he's still dumb. And he's still useful. So I gotta be like, yeah, Iceman. This guy still works. He is still viable. He is the he is the Wendigo Slayer that X-Men need. So yeah. I think that's it. So, in the entirety of this list, I think the synopsis that we can sort of come to is as follows. This set is still good. There are still a lot of elements in this set that do hold up. There are a lot of different things that we can utilize in multiple different ways and combine it with Regenesis, combine it with House of X, combine it with Rise and Fall. I think every player's concern right now should be, if you're looking at this set, is can you get some of it? Are you able to pay the secondary market prices? But also, like, what are you integrating for and what are you playing for? And even more importantly, like in terms of design, like how are you solving for your opponent having access to swap? And since we're on X-Men, I think I'm tempted to put WWE and Orville all in like one basket. If you all think I should do that, let me know. Put that in the comments below. Or should I just skip WWE and Orville and then just go straight over to Captain America and Avengers? Let me know. Put it in the comments below. Because I'll be honest, like, in terms of content, it's going to be a while before we even get close to Fantastic Four and that integration of swap, or not integration, the iteration of swap, and the importance of F4. So I think we're at this weird point in looking at the game. We have a plethora of really still solid options in spite of the rules changes. We have some minor nerves, but in terms of play style, there are more than enough buffs that have come in. And like I've said, previously, I think the number one example of that is Onslaught. Like, his TK nerf hurt his offense, but in terms of his tempo, he made up his tempo by Great Size. Great Size made his tempo compensated. Okay. And so now we're looking at Onslaught playing completely differently than he did before. What does that mean for us as players? So, do I believe that Onslaught's going to come in and win a world championship? No, I don't think that. But I do believe that we are in a position that we can start seeing a lot of cool characters just disrupt status quo, because people slept on the fact of great size, or people slept on the fact of great size with multiple targets for melee attacks, or even, some simple facts of, oh yeah, well, even though I can't, TK and TK an opposing character, I still have other abilities. There's still other game abilities that allow me to move closer, or other game abilities that allows me to move away if my opponent does certain actions, or I can respond and get free actions to do cool stuff. So, all right, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you all for listening. You can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. Like I said, my voice is hurting. It's hurting bad. So that's it. Again, I'd like to thank you all for listening. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.